Hi, I'm Nicole Matheson, and this is Unbreakable, the podcast exploring the part of us deep within that cannot be broken. Today's episode is sponsored by Embrace Women's Circle, a Facebook group to support women who see the challenges in their intimate relationships as opportunities to evolve. Go to Facebook.com/groups/Embrace Women's Circle to join us, because who couldn't do with a bit of love and support when it comes to navigating relationships? On to today's episode. Imagine giving your partner total freedom, to the point that you can be in the same room with them while they are connecting intimately with another. How would you respond? Instead of going into a jealous rage like most of us would, my guest this week, Rachel Rickards, channels that energy of jealousy into her own expansion. Rachel and her partner are polyamorous, meaning they have an open relationship. As a monogamous woman, speaking with Rachel really blew my mind. I feel that there's a lot here for us more conventional relators to be inspired by. During the interview, Rachel shared what she does to move through the energy of jealousy. The dance between freedom and control. She actually swears that she is a control freak. The connecting practice of belly to belly and how it works for her nervous system. The difficult challenges of polyamory and why she still chooses it. We talk about intimacy and what it truly means to be intimate. And she gives us her advice for us monogamous folk on how to keep our relating alive. This is such an inspiring episode. I encourage you to keep your mind open and feel it energize your relationship where it can. Rachel actually starts by talking about the bathroom floor breakup that came from her experience of being on a reality TV show about polyamory in the US.
So my bathroom floor moment happens. It happens 2 years almost, or maybe a little bit over a year and a half after meeting and starting to date a married couple named Michael and Kamala Devi. And our relationship looked a little bit more like a V instead of a triangle, where he was really the connector. And her and I weren't as romantically involved, but she was very much like a sister wife to me. She was very much my mentor and my best friend, and we did everything together. The three of us shared a bed together, so we were still very intimate and very close, but her and I weren't having a sexual relationship. That was mostly between he and I. And over the course of our relationship together, the more he and Michael and I fell in love, there became a bigger contrast between the marriage and how close they were. And Kamala Devi, who is you could call her and Michael in America the queen and king of polyamory. They were the stars of this reality show and are poly activists very intensely. And so, and it's funny because you think that someone who's been poly and been doing open relating for so long, there's this added pressure to them that they have to be perfect and that they should never get jealous. You've been open for 15 years, haven't you beat jealousy yet? But it's not really true. It doesn't happen. We all still get jealous and of our lovers. So Kamala Devi started to build up some jealousy, and there were just some relationship dynamics between the three of us that were very difficult. But there's so much backstory. It's hard. I'm trying to decipher through how to tell it, and to really get the full effect of the fact that we came to a place where Kamala Devi was so intensely jealous of Michael and I, and the relationship had gotten so out of balance that she was having like a nervous breakdown. She was really like, everything was cracking and falling apart for her. And she was at that moment where like, my marriage is over. And so it was, at that moment it became, am I going to save my marriage, or do I need to ask this woman I need to kick Rachel out and have her and Michael break up? And so that's what ended up happening. She said, I need you guys to break up. I need Rachel to move out of the house, and I need you to stop talking. And this was devastating for me because it wasn't just a relationship. When I met them, I met a whole community of poly people that I had never been connected before. And there was a part of me that got expressed that had never been found that expression in the world before. It was like a particular little community in San Diego where my soul caught on fire. And it was like, this is where I can play and be me. And when this breakup happened, it was almost, because she was the leader of this community in San Diego, it was like I was evicted from the community, like kicked out. I wasn't welcome anymore. And so I was devastated. I went spiraling down. And because we were so much in the media, there was another level of this that was also, I didn't want my pain shared publicly. Like, all of our relational things had already been aired on television and on social media and on websites and blog posts. And when I was in the pain of being forced to break up, I didn't want anyone to see that because I still couldn't see it. So my one request to her in the breakup was that she not use my name or not say anything about it publicly until we had kind of gotten to a better place. And there was 1 week where she sent out an email update to her email list, and the title of the subject was "My Messy Relationship Update." And she took me off her email list when she sent it out, but a friend forwarded this to me. So it was kind of like a double whammy. And when I got this email, everything, like that was the moment. Mm-hmm. When I read her messy relationship update about having to break up with me and all the mistakes that she had made, having me come in and move in with them, this moment was my bathroom floor moment. I think the first thing I thought at that moment was like, I need a drink. I need a whole bottle of vodka right now. I was devastated, and I got even a little bit mean, actually, and really was really angry with her because I was in so much pain, and I just didn't want my pain shared with the world. It was incredibly painful to see it aired out in that way.
Oh, God, that's just a whole other layer, isn't it? The publicity of it all.
Yeah, it is. It's one thing to just have it happen, and it's quite another thing to have it put on public display.
And it doesn't necessarily translate into empathy or compassion or care, does it? When it's aired so publicly, we just want a piece of that pain, and we want to see it, and we want to.
Yeah, no, and I think, that's, I assume that maybe there's an aspect of her that was looking for that for herself, because she was reaching out to her community saying, this really horrible thing happened to me. And if I'm anyone in the community and I read the email, I can understand and I can relate and I can have compassion and empathy. But I'm the one person who couldn't read that email and have that. It just devastated me. I mean, that was really my breaking moment. And and at that moment, things in my life had to start changing. I had that, there was a new level of self-care, or a new motivation behind self-care that came through in that moment. Of I really have to take care of myself right now, and I really have to go do something different to self-source.
Yeah. So it up-leveled all of that. And do you want to share a little bit about what that looked like for you?
Yeah, it's really exciting. So what that looked like for me was moving to Bali. I said when that happened, and there was like kind of a second layer, which was we had produced a festival together. They had been producing it for years, but the year before I produced it with them, and it was called Polypalooza, and it was like a big polyamorous festival where a bunch of poly people came together, and they had this Polypalooza, and so I started seeing pictures on Facebook of Michael with other women that he was now dating at this festival. And I was just, again, devastated and thought, I need to get out of here. Like, I need to literally get out of America. I can't be here anymore because this is just, it's too painful. And so a couple of friends of mine were going to Bali to live and study with a Tantra teacher. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm supposed to be there. And so me and a girlfriend, we made plans. We got our flights. We saved a bunch of money over the next, I think, 2 or 3 months and got our tickets and went to Bali and met up with this Tantra teacher and a group of other people who had also moved there with him. And we all ended up living together and creating our own little Tantra. We called it a kula. And we lived together for 6 to 9 months. Studying Tantra under this teacher together as a community.
Wow. That must have helped.
It helped. Not only did it help, in the practice that he taught, I completely reset my nervous system, which was shattered from this experience and just from life. I found community. And also my partner, who I'm still with today, met him, and our relationship got the benefit of having its deepening and its beginning stages all held in this container of community and doing this kind of partnered meditation practice, which is what we do together, all together at the same time.
Wow. That's really fertile grounds for love and relationship, isn't it? It's just beautiful.
It is, and one of the brilliant things that happened through this process for me was that when the breakup happened, I felt like I had lost my community, and I was devastated. And one of my kind of core issues I've struggled with in my life is the not belonging, the fear that I don't belong. And so I was always finding ways and finding communities where I could manifest that wound, which was that I didn't belong. And this was the big one. When Kamala Devi broke up with me and I had to leave and I didn't belong there anymore, it was like there was nowhere I belonged.
And so I suppose that's also when you found this polyamory community that you belonged to, which is kind of like, finally I found my people.
Exactly,
and then you
finally.
get rejected from that as well. So it was like double heartache.
Double, like triple. I mean, there were so many layers of community and family that I had found with her and in San Diego. So, it's like that moment of just like, I just, maybe I actually almost believing, maybe I don't belong anywhere, almost kind of feeding into that belief.
Yeah.
And what was beautiful about Bali is there's a beautiful community in Bali, yoga, tantra, dance community. And I went there, and it would be too easy to say that I found the community in Bali and then I belonged there. The bigger picture of what happened is I found this community in Bali, and then I traveled to Thailand and I found the community in Thailand, and then I traveled to Europe and I found the community in Europe, and then some of the people in Europe were part of the community in Bali, were part of the community in Thailand, and so I got connected to the international tribe. And I found out that I don't ever have to belong somewhere locally that I belong internationally, that there's a tribe of people all around the world, and I can pop in and out of any city and find the people I belong with. And so it's like this piece of not belonging kind of got healed in the expanded picture that I do belong, and I belong everywhere, and I can find the people I resonate with very easily now. In this way. So and I credit Bali with that, teaching me that lesson, that I can find my tribe anywhere. They're all out there.
Yeah, lovely. And what about the healing of the kind of broken heart part of you, or the recovery, or the coming back to yourself? I kind of figure there's another part to the healing that happened.
Yeah. Well, part of that, I was lucky enough that because this relationship was a little traumatizing for me in the end. I mean, I think they all are. They can be when you're in those end phases, and like I was so devastated. And I met my partner now, Booster is his name, in Bali, and he's a body-centered psychotherapist, and he specializes in trauma, actually.
Wow.
So yeah, I was very lucky to find him and start doing some work with him in the beginning. And when I first met him, I was still very much in the devastation of the breakup. And he was even a little apprehensive when he met me. Like, I think, you might be too freshly broken up. It had been actually 5 months. It had been 5 months when I met him. But it was still very alive in me at that time. And he really worked with me because he's an expert with the nervous system. And he really worked with me with becoming aware of the activation in my nervous system, and how, we even did exercises on how my nervous system was reacting just at the thought of Michael and Kamala Devi. Like, if I imagined them being in the room, what started to happen in my body? And it was amazing. Like this, it was like my muscles started to tense up, my breath got really short, my limbs got really activated. And so slowly, between working with him and working with David Cates, my Tantra teacher, we kind of reset my nervous system and started doing this practice, which we call belly to belly.
Yeah, I've seen that on your Facebook videos. It looks like such a beautiful activity.
It is. It's a partnered breathing meditation where you lie belly facing belly, and you breathe. You synchronize the breathing and you sound on the exhale. And this aligns our nervous system and brings us into this beautiful oneness. And this is really the space now that I try, if Booster and I even have anything that looks like an argument, or we're upset or something's happening, it's like everything stops and we lie down belly to belly and we just breathe until our nervous systems are back to neutral. And sometimes they don't get back to neutral, but so we wait till our nervous systems get back to neutral. And then from that place of like love and connection and bonding and dopamine release, that's where we start working on issues or having the difficult conversations. And so that was the healing for me, was being, when we were in Bali and we were living with David Cates, we did this practice for 20 hours a week in a container, about 15 people. So every other day or every day we were lying down and just doing these deep tantric practices of breathing together and going into these kind of, you can take yourself just through the breath into an altered state. I mean, I've gotten higher off breathing than any drug or alcohol or anything that I've ever done. And these are the states where a lot of really beautiful work and healing happens.
Yes. I have actually, since watching your videos, I have been trying the belly to belly with my husband.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's gorgeous. And yeah, I think just as far as feeling comfy and safe and connected. It's just really powerful.
It's so powerful. I try to tell people about it all the time, and just people are always asking, what do? We lie down and we start breathing, and then what? And I always say the best first thing to do is just reveal what's happening in your body right now. What are you aware of in your body? Just reveal, if you could paint a picture with words of your inner landscape, that's the first thing to lead with, is just letting someone in on your reality of what's happening in your body right now. That's the most intimate thing you can share, because it's in the present moment. It's what's happening now. And
it's your truth.
It's truth. The story, when we go into past and when we go into a present, that's when we start to lose each other, because it's like we become, we're listening to a play or a movie or the story of like a fairy tale, whereas like what's happening right now is the most intimate thing you can share.
So intimate. Yeah, I love it. I'm going to continue practicing belly to belly. Yeah.
You should, yeah. And it's a muscle. So if you try it once or twice and nothing's happening, it's like you don't go to the gym once or twice and like, why don't I have like a ripped six pack? It's like you have to lie down and breathe together over and over again and start to regulate your nervous system with another. And it's beautiful. Booster and I's nervous systems are so connected now. We can, if he breathes and I'm in a room with him, I just start breathing in sync with him. That's how connected we are. Or if he takes a big breath, all of a sudden my body just starts taking a big breath. It's like our bodies are that connected and that in sync. It happens effortlessly.
And it kind of just surpasses the whole head, you know, it's straight to the body and the heart, isn't it?
Straight in. There's this concept that David Cates calls the communication iceberg. So if you imagine an iceberg, the 10% that peeks out the top, that's the way that we communicate using language. The 30%, which is like right at the water level, is communication using emotion. And 60% of communication happens underneath the surface of the water. And that's the body-to-body communication. So usually when we're using just the minds and the word communication, we're only able to communicate 10% of what's happening. 60% is what's happening with the body. 60%. It's amazing.
And I find, relationship troubles often happen when my body's saying one thing and my words are saying another. Because I don't want to admit or to tell or to share the truth.
Yeah. It's scary. It's scary, especially this one for me rings really true with open relating too, because there's this higher self of me, this higher version of Rachel, where I want my partner to just go and sleep with whoever he wants or date whoever he wants, and I'm going to be calm and collected and in my center, and I'm going to be celebrating that more love is more love and celebrating him making love with as many people as he desires. But then there's this other thing that happens in my body where he starts to show interest in someone else, and all of a sudden my body is freaking out. And it's like, where did higher self Rachel go? She just took off. She got out of here really fast, and there is a beast inside that wants to rage. So it's those moments, especially, I've never felt the discrepancy between my, what I want in my body and what's happening in my mind as much now as I have recently with being in the throes of open relating.
I have so many questions about open relating. As a married, monogamous, probably quite conservative woman.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot that I can learn. So I have all these questions. I'm wondering, because I saw a post on Facebook that you'd done recently. You have a really beautiful collection of live Facebook videos that people should go check out. Really lovely and open and vulnerable and honest. And one of your recent ones was was about that higher self of yours that really just wanted to give Booster complete freedom. And part of me is just going, yes, what an amazing offering of love. Like, I can feel the love going to you, from you to him. And I can feel how much love he must feel towards you for that freedom, you know, like, I get it, totally get it. But I'm just wondering, what about the jealousy? And what do you do with it? And I suppose the rest of us are controlling that with boundaries and agreements and limitations.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose you're taking the step of not needing the control. And and there's so much trust involved. I was just wondering if you can talk us through a little bit. And I'm sure there's a lot in it for us, whether we're poly or monogamous or whatever.
Yeah. So there's a lot in what you just talked about, and how to start eating an elephant. So I wouldn't say that I'm very far from perfect, and I'm very much in it. Like, even now, actively in it, and I don't have a recipe or like a procedure or a thing to share of like, this is how you do it and get through it. I'm just really enjoying constantly being in it. And so jealousy, what the interesting inquiry for me around jealousy is, a lot of times the jealousy is around an insecurity of mine. When I find myself jealous, I find it more often than not directly related to an area where I'm feeling insecure about myself. So that's the first interesting inquiry. Or it's an area where, like, one of the worst times for Booster and I to be, or for Booster to be dating other people, is anytime when our relationship isn't strong and there's any kind of areas of insecurity, or we just had a big fight or something and then he wants to go on a date. That's a really easy time for me to get jealous because I'm feeling insecure. So that's the first sign and signal to me when I'm jealous, that there's something that needs attention or reassurance. And
what do you do with that part of you that needs reassurance?
Yeah, so it very much depends on the situation, and sometimes I just try to, like, what I like to say is, the jealousy or any reaction that comes up when I'm in an open relating dialogue or experience, it's just energy, right? So when I get jealous, there's an energy that's coming, and I can attach on to that energy that it's a negative experience or a positive experience. And then I get to decide what I want to do with the energy. So one of my things that I resort to pretty regularly is running. And I go running when the energy is so much, because I can sit in a room. I've sat in a room while Booster's on a date, and the energy gets so intense, I'm freaking out, right? Because the energy has nowhere to go. It's like filling my whole body. All my cells are vibrating, and I'm like, oh, I have to do something with this, right? And that's where sometimes, and when I have that much intense energy raging, that's when sometimes too I'm like, I need a drink.
Yes.
You're wanting to calm that down. I want to numb this out. It's too much to handle, because there's energy that you have something to play with. You can do something with it. So a lot of times, some of my biggest running streaks have come at times when we were really opening our relationship a lot, and I just start running and I just start channeling the energy into my practice. And so that's one thing to do. Another thing is to resource with friends, and this is a hard one for me because I find it hard to get resourced with friends who aren't also open or poly. Like if I can't go to a monogamous person and get comfort from them around something like this, it has
They'll
to
be like, why the hell are you letting him out?
They're like, see how you're freaking out right now? This is exactly why I'm not doing that. Like this is exactly why I'm not open, and they don't get it, you know. So I can't go to them because they'll just kind of confirm my jealousy or my insecurity
or your doubt.
Or my doubt. Yeah. And so I just have to resource with friends. Or I ask Booster for reassurance. And, so, you know, he can tell me too, like, hey, this person isn't threatening to you. You have nothing to be worried about, you know, and he can just reassure me that way. And the more that I hear him say that, like, it helps a lot, is just to be reassured by him that, like, he's not going anywhere and that this date or this connection isn't changing anything about our relationship.
Yeah, thank you. So what is it about poly? What is it that keeps you there when it is so challenging and so heart-wrenching? And
well, this is an interesting one because people always say this too, like, it's so difficult, why do you keep doing it? And I'm like, yes, but isn't monogamy quite difficult too?
Yes, monogamy is also difficult, and part of the reason it's difficult is because you have this pressure that this one person has to fulfill everything for the rest of your life, and you should not look anywhere else.
Right? So I'm just choosing it's like choose the better of the most difficult options, right? And so for me, it's really difficult to be monogamous and be just with one person, and that's very difficult. And the difficulties of that style of relating for me aren't worth it. They outweigh the benefits. And so, yes, poly is more difficult in different ways, and those different ways are more appealing to me in this moment.
Yeah.
There's definitely sometimes my relationship could look a little bit more monogamous. There's weeks where Booster and I aren't dating anyone else. We're just with each other and we're just working on our couple bond. And then there's weeks that are very expansive and very open, and we're in a community and we have lots of lovers. But there's a ebb and a flow. There's an expansion and contraction, and so that's what makes it worth it for me. Is I find that the work I'm constantly doing in my relationship is also work I'm doing on myself.
Absolutely.
And that feels exciting to me, and rewarding, and it's like more love is more love is more love is more love. There's no dimension or reality where more love equals less love for someone else. Time and space is finite, but love is infinite. And so sometimes my animal body still needs a little needs to be cuddled back into remembering that. But that's really the reward at the end of a long road of work. And I think that there is a secret, like, hope inside of me that I'll get to a place one day where I won't struggle with some of these things like jealousy so much, that I'll have done enough work that I'll be in a new paradigm of relating. And I think I already am a little bit, especially if I compare myself with other people. But for myself, I have a lot of things a lot of ways I still want to go.
Absolutely. And I suppose it is so challenging, mainly on a evolutionary level. Would you say that?
I would definitely say that. A biological level too, maybe. I feel like I'm fighting my biology a lot of times. So there's like, I can, so evolution or biology, I can be feeling things in my body that, like I said, don't connect to the higher version of me. Like, why am I why am I freaking out wondering if he's going to leave me, or why am I worried about resources, and if he sleeps with her and she wants to have his babies, there's going to be less for me. There's these biological needs and desires that start to get triggered. And I've told someone, like, if I could just rewire my biology right now, I would, so that my body didn't feel these things anymore. But they do keep coming up to be felt, and that's the game, and that's the that's
where the
practice.
growth is. Yeah. Practice. Yeah. And so much learning to happen there. So I feel like, you know, when we talk about finding that part of you that is unbreakable, that this exploration in poly and in seeing your partner with other lovers, like you must come back to, you know, beyond all those layers, to some part of you that is bigger, more clear, stronger, truer. I'm just wondering what that unbreakable part of you feels like and where you find it.
I've been thinking about this question. You know, something just came that wasn't what I was expecting to say, but in an interesting way, it's like my heart. It's my heart is unbreakable, and there's moments. It feels very interesting to say this, because there's moments where I feel my heart has been broken, but it's not breakable. It's maybe crackable.
I love that.
There can be a little crack or a little fracture, but it's not breakable. And all of these things, they come back to my heart, which is what love. My love is not. It's not breakable. It's not going away. There's moments where I'm hurt, or I'm in pain, or I remember this breakup I went through with Michael and Kamala. There were days where I just had pain in my chest, like my whole chest was just it was in so much pain. I was sure that something was happening to my heart, but at the end of the day, I think that's that thing that keeps, that's the core thread through it all is my heart, and the shape of my heart is very big, and includes a lot of people, and I think that's what keeps me going and expanding in this kind of paradigm of openness.
I love that answer. I got a real soft spot for the heart, so
yeah,
you're speaking my language there.
Yeah.
I've got a kind of different question for you. Usually I ask for your advice for people going through a bathroom floor cracking open moment, but I would actually like to ask some advice for monogamous married folk or long-term relationship people like myself. I would love to know, from your perspective, what advice you would have for us insofar as keeping things alive and thriving, and keeping ourselves alive and thriving.
In a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
Keeping things alive and thriving in a monogamous relationship. Interesting. That's a question. I would recommend, I would say one of the things that keeps the most aliveness is to try something new, or to do something new or different, because what happens in relationships is they get so monotonous and mundane, and you just come to expect certain things. And so I think trying something new, and it's like whatever you were doing at the beginning of the relationship that you're not doing now, that's probably the thing you should be doing. So whether that was like surprises or gifts or sexy dates or spontaneous picnics on the beach, whatever that thing was that you did when you were super in love and in that honeymoon phase, do one of those things again. That's what keeps the juices flowing. That's what keeps the aliveness in the relationship. And I think that when you start opening up and you have that, we call it new relationship energy, when new lovers come in and the couple's relationship gets an injection of new relationship energy, it kind of spices everything up. So it's like, if you're in a monogamous relationship, give yourself that injection. You know?
Yeah. I totally love that. I love that advice. I can feel the energy of it. Woo! But I am reading Mating in Captivity at the moment by Esther Perel. And I love that she says love needs comfort and security and safety. But desire and eroticism needs the opposite, needs uncertainty and risk.
Exactly.
And it's interesting for me because I've been finding that uncertainty and risk in my relationship by being really honest, really vulnerable, like going to those places that I'm like, oh my God, I could never say this. Saying it to my husband, and then you've got that whole, oh my God, how's he going to respond to this? Are we over because I've said this? But actually it is that injection of, you know, I don't know, there's so much in it.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's it. That's the piece. That's intimacy.
Yeah.
That's intimacy. Sharing the thing you least want to share with your partner, with them, will, and it's ironic that will create the most love and connection. It is. When you're seen and loved in that moment of like, this piece of me is so unlovable. You could never love me if you knew this. Yeah. And when the person sits there and looks at you and says, I still love you. If not, I love you more, because you shared something that was so scary. And when they stay there with you through that, that's it. That's it.
It is.
That's exactly it. That's what we do in Belly to Belly all the time. Lie down, breathe, and share the thing you least want to share right now.
And I suppose belly to belly is just the perfect kind of container for that kind of conversation.
The perfect container and the perfect balm to soothe over it. Once you share and once your partner hears the share, the nervous system, it gets activated. So then you just start to breathe and sound again. And as you breathe and sound, everything just drops and starts to melt. And then you're in that kind of oxytocin bubble again together. And you see that nothing's changed. Everything's fine. There's still love. There's connection.
I can imagine for a lot of people that's nearly scarily intimate. Just the physical breathing, connecting bit. Yeah. So go there. If you're not going there in your relationship, maybe that's kind of the injection of new that could, I don't know, change energy.
Especially, it's not only the lying down. There's a very big importance around the sounding. And I know that, like, if you haven't ever sounded on the exhale, I try to, in my workshops, I'm guiding people into this, and it's like people just lie there and they don't want to sound. But if you're doing it right, it sounds something like this. It's like a 3 to 4 second inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. So it's and that sound, not only is it sending signals to my nervous system, but it's sending information to your body and your nervous system. And the more we breathe and sound together, the deeper we can drop in together. But people get so scared. They're so scared of their sound and how it's going to affect the other person, or if it's going to turn the other person off or on. And it is the piece that will create the most bliss. I don't know how to. I'm too excited right now to think of a better place.
Well, I think it works vibrationally, doesn't it? Because we are energetic beings and we vibrate. And so there's there's resonance in the sound that cuts through our energy. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I have a funny story. I'll try to share it really quick. But my sister is very, what's the word? Mainstream, normal, doesn't go to, doesn't do really meditation or spiritual things or yoga. But she just had 2 babies, and her husband have been struggling a lot with intimacy, and they haven't been having a lot of sex. And so she's asking me, we're getting our nails done or something together one day, and she keeps asking me, what do we do? I know that you're teaching intimacy workshops and you're doing this, and what advice do you have? What can you tell me to do? What should we do? And I was like, I know what to tell her to do, but I don't think that she's ever going to do it. Like or at least if she would do it, there's no way he's going to lay down and breathe with her. But she keeps asking me, please just give me one exercise or something we can do. And I say, okay, this is what I know works. You lie down and you breathe together, belly facing belly, and you just lie there. And then what? Well, and then nothing. You just be together. That's the practice. Isn't leading to some particular outcome. The practice is the opposite. It's just being together in the nothingness, in that space. And then you reveal what's happening in your body, and then just see where the energy wants to go. If the energy wants, well, what if we just fall asleep? We're usually really tired at the end of the day. Well, if you do the practice and you fall asleep, then that's what wants to happen. You fall asleep. So the next day I see her, oh my gosh, Rachel, we did the belly to belly practice. Yeah, and what happened? I had 2 orgasms. I was like, what? No, that's never happened to anyone. So I'm not advocating that belly to belly leads to orgasms, but apparently it can.
Not one.
Now 2 orgasms, right? And she had an orgasm before having babies. So, and what I think it is he just was with her. He was just with her in the intimacy, in the moment of just being together with no expectation of anything needed to happen. It wasn't a sex date. It wasn't, because, as a married couple, it's like, we have to have sex. We have to have this sex date because we're not having sex and we have to plan this time and it's so important. It was like the opposite. When the pressure's off and we can just be together and let our nervous systems go from the franticness of being a parent and running a household to just being together, something opens up in that space.
Oh, yeah. It's like not having an agenda is a really powerful thing because it actually takes us out of our head and into a whole other paradigm where it doesn't matter. We're just present. We're in our body and our heart and just with each other, with ourselves. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I've just got one more question for you.
Okay.
I'm wondering, at the moment, for you, what your unbreakable edge is, as in, where's the edge of your growth taking you right now?
I have 2 ways I can answer that, either in my relationship or professionally. Do you have a preference as to which answer I give?
Yeah, my preference is your relationship.
My relationship, okay. And so with my relationship right now, one of my edges is... it's interesting. I'm one of the harder things for me has been it's been really easy when my partner is goes away and has a date with someone and I'm not there. That's well, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to use absolute terms. I love using absolute terms, like always and never, and but they don't really usually apply. So sometimes it's harder when he goes away or we're in different countries and I don't have to be there seeing it. But what's actually much harder is actually being in the room when my partner is connecting with someone else and there's a electricity going on there. So, and we've been in a community here in Hawaii, and he's been having, because we do this work together too. So we're guiding people into these things or belly to bellies, and he's connecting with someone. And so recently, that has been I noticed, because I'm so aware of my body now, and whatever, and any change that happens, especially in my nervous system, I'm acutely aware, and I get really like geeky about it. I'm like, okay, what's happening? What is the story that's leading to this? And is it the body, and how is my body reacting? And noticing the sweat under the armpits and the muscle reaction. So the other day, my partner was connecting with someone, and I can tell they were really having a beautiful, intimate, like expansive, their faces were glowing, and I was watching, and I started the mantra, his opening is my opening.
Wow.
His opening is my opening. When his body opens and he starts to love, my body opens and I start to love. And that immediately, when I started that mantra, my biology shifted. My body started to open, and I started to get really happy and really compersive for the connection that he was having. So that's been my growth edge lately, is being in the room with a connection happening between my partner and another woman, and leaving the room not triggered, not in a triggered, like, reactive state, leaving actually as open. I don't think I'm probably leaving as open as he is in that moment, but that's the work I'm doing now, is to get it so that the more open he gets through a connection, that I bring myself to that same level of openness.
Wow. It feels really solid to me, what you are able to just, I don't really have the words to express what I'm feeling, but it just feels so, like, I feel like I can really take what you're saying and apply it in my own life, as far as just letting go. It's relatable, but it just feels so solid in self, in self-love, self-worth. Because I think often we're in a battle with our ego of, someone's taking the mickey out of you, don't let them, like that whole grasping, control, fear. And when we actually drop into our hearts, we're like, it's okay. It's okay.
And let me say, because I would hate for anyone to think that I'm not a control freak. I am such a control freak. And there's a part of my brain that's always working to try to control the situation so that I don't have to feel pain. That is definitely happening in this. And one of the gifts that Booster gives me, and it's a bigger gift when he cannot get triggered by me first, but is that usually when I start to feel bad, I go into strategy and creating some kind of boundary or rule to tell him to do so that I don't have to feel this anymore. And whenever I do that, he says to me, reveal yourself. Tell me what's happening for you that's making you want this boundary or this rule. What's actually happening for you? And those moments are so special because they lead, like, any strategy I could come up with isn't as brilliant or doesn't ever lead to as much connection as it does when I just reveal myself. I'm really scared you're going to leave me, or I'm really scared you're going to choose her over me. Like, when I just say the thing is that I'm trying to protect myself from feeling, he softens. And he says, I don't want you, maybe I don't want you to feel that, or he can reassure me, or it gives a different level of power back to us, rather than trying to take the power away and set something up so that some emotion doesn't need to be felt.
Oh, yes. I just love that. I love that. I love that control actually distances us by trying to avoid something. And that honesty just brings us back together.
Exactly. Exactly. The truth.
The truth.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. So just finally, if people are interested in finding out more about the work that you do, where would they go look?
They would go look. We have a website called embodiedintimacy.com, so you could go there. But probably more current and updated and active and fun is the Facebook page, Facebook /embodied intimacy. And that's where all of Booster and I's, we travel the world doing events. So that's where all of our events are, and all of our videos and anything else that comes up for us kind of gets posted there.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your truth and your intimacy and wisdom with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a beautiful podcast that you have. I feel very honored and a lot of gratitude for the invitation to come share my story.
You can find the show notes for this episode at nicolematheson.com/podcast 15. While you are there, download my free gift, Sweet Soul Whispers, the soothing words you need to hear when you are lost and broken. If you have enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share it with your friends and pop over to iTunes and leave a review and rating. While you're there, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye.